on talking about the Broadway experience. As I said in my previous video, I've been thinking a lot about that experience lately. As a memory, at the time that it happened, I would not want to relive it because it was a thunderstorm that was scary. But although it was a scary time with the thunderstorm and everything, I also remember it very fondly as well. There's a kind of hygge element to it. Hygge is a word that sort of means homeliness, like homely, comfort. There's a kind of hygge element to it. You only really get a hygge sensation once something negative has happened, when you're with your family and then everything is resolved and then like you're kind of at peace, as it were. So I think that's part of the reason it's a very hygge-lig memory, because there was this thunderstorm, but then afterwards we went to the cafe and we had tea cake and I was wet and I dried off, and then the next day it rained and rained and rained and rained, and there was this constant grey sky over us and constant flash lightning, but we went to this lovely Tudor cafe and had hot chocolate, so that was very hygge-lig. And I just remember, and the Avon burst its banks. It was some of the worst flooding ever. Obviously, no fun if you actually flooded or anything like that. Obviously, then you'd have a very different memory of that experience. Obviously, we weren't flooded. But yeah, it's funny. I spoke to my brother about this recently, and he's 2 years younger than me, and he can't actually remember as much of it as I can, but then again, he is 2 years younger than me. He can only remember being scared, the lights going off in the tower, and all the deer vanishing. That's all he can remember. Whereas I can remember the walk back with the zigzag lightning over on the hills, because although the lightning had stopped where we were at that point, I could still see the lightning over the hills. And it was really peculiar weather because while we walked back, we were pursued by this jet black cloud. My mum actually said the cloud was evil. She used that exact word, evil, because it was the blackest cloud, the most jet black cloud she had ever seen. And it was following us as we walked back. The sun came out. The sun came out when I saw those workmen working on the stone wall. The sun came out, but on the hills in the distance, I could see forked lightning. And then it began to drizzle, and the drizzle got heavier and heavier as this black cloud was following us all the way back to Chipping Camden. And I was holding my dad's hand, and I was like quite scared. And we were walking really, really fast because my dad wanted to get a taxi. And my mum insisted we walk, because when we were at the cafe, the sun had come out and it looked like the storm was over, but obviously it wasn't over. Because the actual walk from Chipping Camden to Broadway Tower is along the Cotswolds Way, which actually goes all the way to Bath. Some people actually walk the whole thing. That'll take quite some time. The bit from Chipping Camden to Broadway Tower is over Dover Hill, which is this very picturesque hill. Google it if you like. I've spent a lot of time Googling it just for nostalgia's sake. It brings back memories as well. It's quite high up, really nice scenery. And I do remember that part of it. And at the beginning of the day, it was actually sunny and nice weather. It was just a nice spring day. My mum said it simply predicted sunshine and showers. It hadn't predicted intense rain or thunderstorms, so that's why she was taken by surprise at the ferocity of the storm. And she said it was the worst thunderstorm she'd ever experienced. It was, and by the way, when we ran up to that tower and I was screaming, "Why are you running up?" Because I was like, I knew at that age, even at that age, you don't run up a hill with a thunderstorm, It's like, why aren't we just staying beneath because we were beneath the trees when it began to hail, but then the hail stopped, and then my mum started running up the hill, just at that point when forked lightning came down from the sky, and that forked lightning was really close to me. Like, it was literally so close to me. Like, could have got struck. I was like screaming, "Why are you running up a hill?" And I see my mum running up in front, holding it with my brother, and she was running up in front, and I was with my dad, and I was slipping and sliding and falling over and all along the grass, and it was all muddy. and running, and Jessie was on the lead guitar, and she was obviously scared as well. And I saw my mum up at the top at the tower, kind of, and the rain and hail was falling at this point, and she was like looking, she was really agitated, trying to find a way into the tower, and like waving her hands at us, because then it occurred to us, you know, why she was running up the hill was obviously to get inside the tower, because that was where we were going, Broadway Tower. Yeah, it was intense. But like I said, at that age, I didn't really know about what to look for with thunderstorms. Because my mum was actually trying to get my dad. When we used to go out on our family walks, my mum would always tend to walk up in front, and my dad would lag behind, and either me or my brother would be with my mum or my dad, and I was with my dad, and I was holding his hand and talking to him. I can't actually remember what I was talking about. My mum was up ahead with my brother, holding his hand, and I do remember that, yeah, my mum kept on trying to get my dad and me to hurry up, to walk a bit faster, and we didn't know at the time that the reason she was trying to do that was because she had noticed that the weather was changing, because the day had begun like really nice and sunny, and while we were walking along Dover Hill, and there were lots of people out and about, and it was just a nice spring day, and I didn't really know what to look for up in the sky. Like I do now, I know what to look for. I know when it's going to thunder. I just know now. I know when it's going to thunder. Back then, I didn't know when to expect thunder, so I wasn't like looking up at the sky really. And it was only when my dad and I were in this field, this rather barren field. We were walking along a footpath along this open field, when my mum really started to wave her hand at us to try and get us to walk faster, and that's when my dad looked up at the sky and he said, she's trying to get us faster because it looks like it's about to rain. And I do remember looking up and seeing like lots of clouds, but I didn't realise it was going to actually thunder. Now I think I would know, because now I know what thunder clouds look like. Obviously the big cumulonimbus clouds, I can tell now, but I didn't know what to look for at that age. Yeah. So, because I think obviously if I was older and I knew what to expect, I would have been a lot more scared, because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know that there was going to be thunder until it happened. Whereas now I would be like, yeah, it's going to thunder, and I'll be getting scared a lot earlier, because now I'm always looking up at the sky. I didn't have a thunderstorm phobia at that age. Yeah, I think that's where my thunderstorm phobia came from. So it's a mixed memory. Yeah, it's a nostalgic memory, but it also, I think that was the last year of innocence, 1998, because after that year, that's when a lot of my anxieties increased. It's rather sad, isn't it? Why do we have to grow up? Yes, the death of innocence. I wish I could just be ignorant again sometimes, because I know too much and I don't like it. Now I know what can go wrong, my brain just focuses on that, you know. Sad, isn't it? But I would like to go back there at some point. Maybe, I don't know when I can go on trains again, because my OCD is so bad. I think it probably, the best case scenario would be that maybe I might be able to go in my brother's car, if my brother could drive me up there. Now that in and of itself would be a massive thing, but probably easier to do than going into a train, at least while COVID's still here, because yeah, obviously if I go in my brother's car, with my dad and brother, I could get COVID if one of them has it, but obviously the risk is less than going in a busy train where there's lots of people. At some point I really do want to just go somewhere, because I'm getting so fed up with just living stuck at home all the time. It's absolutely crap. So like I say, all I have is memories, but maybe one day, who knows, maybe one day. Anyway, so that was kind of one of my memories. I've got loads and loads of other memories I could talk about, but it's the Broadway experience that really does stick in my mind. Just because it had such a powerful effect on me, I guess. That thunderstorm was so severe. Never experienced anything like that ever again, and it was intense. So thank you for watching.